Hi, Aqua Roomers. Time for chapter reading. This is exciting. We're starting a new book today. Yesterday, we finished The Little House in the Big Woods. Today, we're starting the next adventure that Laura and Mary and Carrie and Ma and Pa have, and it's called Little House on the Prairie. So, they're not in the big woods of Wisconsin anymore. I wanted to show you the jacket. So, do you see the land? There's no hills, no trees. It's flat as a pancake. That's what a prairie looks like. Very different. And this is called, let me show you closer. This is a covered wagon. And that's how people traveled. So Laura and Mary are in the wagon, and under the canvas cover are bows that make everything stay together. Oh, look, there's Jack. And Ma and Pa are up front, and I'm sure Ma is holding baby Carrie. So, let's see what happens. But of course, the story begins in the big woods, because that's where we left off. Chapter 1. Wow. Going west. I have to show you a picture again of the covered wagon. Look at that. That's big. Okay. I'm so excited. You ready? A long time ago, when all the grandfathers and grandmothers of today were little boys and little girls, or very small babies, or perhaps not even born, Ma and Pa and Mary and Laura and baby Carrie left their little house in the big woods of Wisconsin. So, if you have a map of the United States at your house, see if you can find Wisconsin. They drove away, and they left it lonely and empty in the clearing among the big trees. And they never saw that little house again. They were going to Indian country. Pa said there were too many people in the big woods now. Quite often, Laura heard the ringing thud of an axe, which was not Pa's axe, or the echo of a shot that did not come from his gun. The path that went by the little house had become a road. Almost every day, Laura and Mary stopped their playing and stared in surprise at a wagon slowly creaking by on that road. Wild animals did not stay in a country where there were so many people. Pa did not like to stay either. He liked a country where the wild animals lived without being afraid. He liked to see the little fawns and their mothers looking at him from the shadowy woods, and the fat, lazy bears eating the wild berry patches. In the long winter evenings, he talked to Ma about the western country. In the west, the land was level and there were no trees. The grass grew thick and high. There were wild animals that wandered and fed as though they were in a pasture that stretched much farther than a man could see, and there were no settlers, people who moved in. Only Indians lived there. One day, on the very last day of winter, Pa said to Ma, "Seeing that you don't object, I've decided to go see the West. I've had an offer for this place, and we can sell it now for as much as we're ever likely to get, enough to get us started in a new country." "Oh, Charles, must we go now?" Ma asked. The weather was so cold, and the snug house was so comfortable. "If we're going this year, we must go now," said Pa. "We can't get across the Mississippi after the ice breaks." The Mississippi River is a big river. So, Pa sold the house. He sold the cow and the calf. He made hickory bows and fastened them upright to the wagon box. Ma helped him stretch white canvas over them. In the thin dark, before morning, Ma gently shook Mary and Laura till they got up. In firelight and candlelight, she washed and combed them and dressed them warmly. Over their long red flannel underwear, she put wool petticoats, wool dresses, long wool stockings. She put their coats on them and their rabbit skin hoods and their red yarn mittens. Everything from the little house was in the wagon, except the beds and the tables and the chairs. They did not need to take those because Pa could always make new ones. There was thin snow on the ground. The air was still and cold and dark. The bare trees stood up against the frosty stars. But in the east, the sky was pale, and through the gray woods came lanterns with wagons and horses bringing Grandpa and Grandma and aunts and uncles and cousins. Mary and Laura clung tight to their rag dolls. They did not say anything. The cousins stood around and looked at them. Grandma and all the aunts hugged and kissed them and hugged and kissed them again and again, saying goodbye. Pa hung his gun to the wagon bows inside the canvas top, where he could reach it quickly from the seat. He hung his pouch and powder horn beneath it. He laid the fiddle box carefully between pillows, where jolting would not hurt the fiddle. The uncles helped him hitch the horses to the wagon. All the cousins were told to kiss Mary and Laura, so they did. Pa picked up Mary, then Laura, and set them on the bed in the back of the wagon. He helped Ma climb up to the wagon seat, and Grandma reached up and gave her baby Carrie. So, this is a big picture, and I want to take some time so you can see what's happening. Okay. So look, everybody came to say goodbye. Do you remember the wagon that Laura and Mary rode in to go to town when they went to the store? It's the same wagon. Pa just put the canvas top on. Oh, there's the little house in the big woods. And they're hitching up the horses. Oh. And everybody is hugging and kissing and saying goodbye. Pa swung up and sat beside Ma. Jack, the brindle bulldog, went under the wagon. So they all went away from the little log house. The shutters were over the windows, so the little house could not see them go. It stayed there inside the log fence, behind the two big oak trees that in the summertime had made green roofs for Mary and Laura to play under. And that was the last of the little house. Pa promised that when they came to the west, Laura should see a papoose. "What's a papoose?" she asked him. And he said, "A papoose is a little Indian baby." They drove a long way through the snowy woods till they came to the town of Pepin. Mary and Laura had seen it once before, remember? But it looked different now. The door of the store and the doors of all the houses were shut. The stumps were covered with snow, and no little children were playing outdoors. Big cords of wood stood among the stumps. Only one or two or three men in boots and fur caps and bright plaid coats were to be seen. Ma and Laura and Mary ate bread and molasses in the wagon, and the horses ate corn from their nose bags, while inside the store, Pa traded his furs for the things they would need to make the journey. They could not stay long in the town because they must cross the lake that day. So remember, the town of Pepin was on a huge lake, Lake Pepin. So they had to cross the lake. It's covered in ice. How would you do that? Well, I guess the horses would just walk out onto the ice and pull the wagon. The enormous lake stretched flat and smooth and white all the way to the edge of the gray sky. Wagon tracks went away across it so far that you could not see where they went and ended in nothing at all. Pa drove the wagon out onto the ice, following those wagon tracks. The horses' hooves cloppity-clopped clop with a dull sound, and the wagon wheels went crunching. The town grew smaller and smaller behind, till even the tall store was only a dot. All around the wagon, there was nothing but empty and silent space. Laura did not like it. But Pa was on the wagon seat, and Jack was under the wagon. She knew that nothing could hurt her while Pa and Jack were there. At last, the wagon was pulling up a slope of earth again, and again there were trees. There was a little log house, too, among the trees, so Laura felt better. Nobody lived in the little house. It was a place to camp in. It was a tiny house and strange, with a big fireplace and rough bunks against all the walls, bunk beds. But it was warm when Pa had built a fire in the fireplace. That night, Mary and Laura and baby Carrie slept with Ma in a bed made on the floor before the fire, while Pa slept outside in the wagon to guard it and the horses. In the night, a strange sound wakened Laura. It sounded like a shot, but it was sharper and longer. Again and again she heard it. Mary and Carrie were asleep, but Laura couldn't sleep till Ma's voice came softly through the dark. "Go to sleep, Laura," she said. "It's only the ice cracking." The next morning, Pa said, "It's lucky we crossed yesterday, Caroline. Wouldn't wonder if the ice broke up today." So that was the ice on Lake Pepin. They drove the wagon across, and then as soon as they got to the other side, the ice started to crack. Wow, we made a late crossing, and we're lucky it didn't start breaking up while we were out in the middle of the lake. "I thought about that yesterday, Charles," Ma replied gently. Well, Laura hadn't thought about it before, but now she thought what would have happened if the ice had cracked under the wagon, and they'd all gone down into the cold water in the middle of the vast lake. "You're frightening somebody, Charles," Ma said, and Pa caught Laura up in his safe, big hug. "We're across the Mississippi," he said, hugging her joyously. "How do you like that little half pint of sweet cider half drunk up? Do you like going out west, where the Indians live?" Laura said she liked it. Oh, but they were not here. They were still in Minnesota. So That's it for today. Next time, bye.